Have you ever become overwhelmed when planning a launch in the midst of a launch? I think we've all been there, my friends. That's why I'm excited to have with me today an old friend, Jen Levitz, and we're going to be talking about launch planning, launch strategies that don't sacrifice your sanity. We've all done this before, right? I know I have. So let me tell you a little bit about Jen, and you'll know why I'm really excited to have her here for this conversation to take the overwhelm out of your launches. So Jen Levitz is a launch strategist and manager. She's the CEO and founder of Spellbinding Launches. I just love that name. A launch agency that brews a magical blend of strategy, management, and implementation to create unforgettable launch experiences for service-driven coach and course creator teams. With decades of experience as both a coach and a behind-the-scenes wizard for 7- and 8-figure coaches and online marketers, Jen creates personalized strategies to produce enchanting, ease-filled launch experiences for their clients. And isn't that what we all want? We want it to be a soul-filled experience for them and get us results.
Exactly.
Welcome, Jen.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talking about the thing I do all the time, which is launches.
Yeah. And I know that for some entrepreneurs, wherever you may be in business, you hear launch and you start to shudder, right? I used to do that. I used to do it. The thought of launching a product, a program, you would go into overwhelm when you start thinking about all this processes, steps, etc. Well, this is Jen's magic. I've known Jen for a long time. We were part of a mastermind together. So we're going back about probably 8 years at least, right?
Yeah. Eight to 10, somewhere in that range. It's been a
long time that we've been connected. So I've seen her magic out in the world. And I said, come on, let's take away all this muck that we energetically carry around launches. So you're all about launch strategies that take away the overwhelm, right? That give us back a sense of peace. So where should we start in that conversation, my friend?
Well, we've got two different things at play with launches. And so let's talk about the quicker one, because the bigger one has a lot more juicy details. So we'll cover the first part, which is it's hard to sell if you don't have people to sell to. So while everyone talks about you got to build your list, you got to build your list. Yes, you do. I'm sorry. Yes, you do. Because you're going to want to present whatever it is that you're embodying and bringing out in the world to an aligned group of people. So make sure that in everything that you're doing, you're thinking about how can I grow my list with this particular piece? And it's just a different mindset shift of like, how do I bring in and attract more people into my space? So that when you're in the place of launching and you're looking at numbers, this is where things start to get crunchy, right? We're talking about math. Not everybody loves math. I'm a math geek, so I like math. I like data. And if you're not, it's okay. I'm not going to overwhelm you, I promise. But you need to look at how many people do I have on my list that haven't bought this offer. So if you've sold this thing multiple times, you got to do a little math and subtract, add and subtract. Okay. And then look at that and go, 1% are interested in this thing that I'm going to sell. Where a lot of the stress comes in is we set really big pie in the sky numbers. I love to set a big goal. I would love to have a 6-figure launch. Great. Does your list size support that goal? It might not in this iteration. And it will be better for your mental health if you can accept that this iteration may not meet that requirement. It's do the math, 1% of my list times the dollar amount that I'm selling my particular course, program, whatever it may be. Does that math get me to 6 figures? Yes? No? Maybe? Maybe it's a different set of energy that you bring to a launch. A no is, okay, great. What can I do now to prep for that 6-figure launch I want to have in 6 months, a year, whatever that may be? Look at that gap, figure that piece out. Because that's the first place of all the stress is we come to, I'm going to launch a thing, I'm going to put it out there, and abundantly, I would like to make a lot of money so I can serve more people, right? We're not looking at money is evil. We're looking at money is abundance and allows you to serve more. So where do we find that balance? So that's like number one is financially, does the math make sense?
Yeah.
Because you got to be in the right mindset for launching.
And even if they're a beginner and they have a list of 100, it's still do the launch, get good at your program, get good. So it isn't don't do the launch, but be realistic of the numbers while you continue to grow your list and hold the plan for the larger launches. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Like, oh, you have a list of 100 people. Okay. So we celebrate when we get one. We celebrate when we get two. We celebrate for every single piece. If you're dealing with a really small list, we get to celebrate more. The number to other people may not feel big, but you internally get to know that, oh, the math said I was only going to get 1%. I was only going to get one person to buy because my list is only 100 people. You know what? With 100 people, you might actually have a 3 to 5% because it's a very aligned group. You
Yeah.
probably already set the stage for them and we're doing the thing. Like, we're doing it. I built this thing specifically because these 5 people need it right now. Cool.
So once we do the math, how do we know the launches for us? I deal with so many clients who are all spiritual entrepreneurs, but one person's energetic profile plus her human design and a couple of the layers that I like to look at. She may not be wired for a 5-day challenge or a webinar because maybe that's not her technology that she feels good at. How do you know what one works best for you?
So that's the next phase and the bigger wormholes we get to play in today. Look at what your goals are for your business. What timing are we looking at to have those two pieces align? And then look at your life and make sure that your life aligns with that time period. Launches are not the 2-week thing that everyone sees out in the universe. Launches have a lot of moving parts, and that 2-week part, that's the hard part on the CEO because you're showing up and you've got to be able to serve. And to do that, you often need all this other stuff, magical technology stuff happening behind the scenes long in advance so that you can just show up.
Yeah. And that's such a great point because everyone sees the front facing and says, Linda, you're always doing something and you make it look so easy. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't realize I've been on the back end doing stuff to make it easy.
Right? It's two sides of the same hand. You've got the forward facing side of your launch, and then you've got your behind the scenes side of your launch. Both are very important and need to be in alignment. The gears have to be connected in order for it to be the less stressful piece. Ideally, in my world, we have all the tech stuff set up before we start promoting whatever thing we're going to launch as our springboard. Our sales event is usually the springboard to the rest of the launch. So often you're looking at what's that springboard? What's that sales event that's going to happen that is the excuse to get everybody's attention and come and play and be in your energetics before you open your cart? What is that thing? And looking at that piece is actually the answer to your question. How do you know if this is the right sales event for you? Because not everybody is wired to do a challenge. I run a lot of challenges for people, but I also know I'm not likely to run a challenge.
Yeah.
Because in order to be a challenge, in order to run a challenge, for instance, you as the holder of the space are holding space for every individual who comes into the free thing for the challenge as soon as they start coming in, because you're warming them up before your challenge starts. You're holding space every day of your challenge. Plus, you have your cart open, which brings up a whole bunch of other energetic stuff in your body. And then you're continuing to hold space through cart close. Girlfriends and boyfriends, this is going to, that's a long amount of time to hold space. And if you are extroverted, this may be, oh my God, I'm totally going to do it. If you're a hermit crab, I'm a hermit crab. Holding that much space for that long wears me out.
And
And
knowing
what,
that about ourselves, I think, is important, because I'm sure you've heard this. We get into comparison, like, oh my God, Linda's doing another soul camp, which is 5 days. I think I'm going to do it. And I talk to them like, you're an introvert and a highly sensitive. Exactly what you said. So they have to know themselves as entrepreneurs, right? If they're not comfortable holding space for that long, then a challenge isn't for them, but they have to know that about themselves to make the right business decision, or they will wonder why it fell flat. It's because they weren't in their highest vibration energy.
exactly, exactly. It's knowing that space of, can I do this? Can I hold the space for these people this long and be able to transition from the end of launch into serving the people who have now paid you? So there's that transition as well that you get to be very mindful of. It's why I try to have everything done before we start promoting from a team perspective as well. Because your team, if you have a team, I mean, your team could be, I have a part-time EA that helps make sure I check things off my to-do list. That's totally cool too. But they're there to support you and lower your pressure and noise. And you, just by showing up, have just increased the pressure and noise from the universe. Universe has said, oh, she's showing up today. Let's see what we can do to amplify, i.e., sometimes break down what's going on in the world, because that's part of that cycle as well. Universe says, oh, she's showing up. Cool. That means we get to do stuff. And that's when the pixies come in and screw up your website, you crash your website, you crash, like your links end up being imperfectly incorrect. All the craziness that happens in a launch just gets amplified because universe sees you like, oh, you've been hiding. You get to show up. You're showing up. Okay, let's have some breakdowns so you can have these major breakthroughs.
Yep,
Yeah.
it happens to all of us. So
Yeah.
other than a challenge, what are some springboards that can set someone's launch off, just in case we have some new entrepreneurs here or emerging entrepreneurs who haven't even done a launch yet? What are some of the ideas that they could use as that catalyst, that springboard?
So the question to ask is, what kind of transformation do I need my ideal person to have just before they see my offer so that they're ready to say yes? What kind of transformation? Sometimes that transformation is they just need to understand that you can provide their solution. Like, they're already problem aware, they know what's going on. I just need someone who can solve this problem. And in that case, a webinar is likely perfect. That is a great first time launch item. You're showing up, you're doing it for an hour to 90 minutes. You probably want to plan your thing for about an hour with space for Q&A, and you're sharing your experience. You're telling them, hey, I know where you are. I've been there, and here's how I can help you. So that's webinar. That's like the least stressful of all of the plans. Okay.
And that's live, correct? Because it's
And that, yeah, I would do that live, especially if you're new. I would do it live. I would not do an on-demand / evergreen version until you know that this content resonates with your people and converts. Look at the math. Did the math say people said yes, yes. Okay, great. So that's when I would do that particular piece is flip it to evergreen as if it's converting and people are continuing to buy, and it's not on a open and closed door cycle. If it's available all the time, they can come and buy it. It's perfect for an evergreen setup. And there's ways to have that be a more timed thing. But that's also something that you would do if you're at high six figures in your launch thing. You've had the thing, it's going, we're totally different mindset space than newer business owner. Another option is I need them to have a transformation of some sort. I can't hold space for 5 days, but you can hold space for a couple hours. And that's when a workshop would be really well. A workshop and a challenge, you're likely doing the same kinds of transformation delivery. It's just, how are you delivering it? Delivering it in bite-sized pieces over a few days? Or are you delivering it in one fell swoop? And sometimes those workshops are hands-on things where they're doing all the work at the same time, and it's like a get it done day.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are more, here's some information, here you're going to do some work, and we're prepping you so that when you're done, you can then spend a little time and move forward and do from there.
So are those generally like 2 to 4 hours, or it varies?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be as long of a time for a workshop. So that's another one that I like to do. If you're like, oh, they need to have a transformation, great, like a big transformation, cool, let's hold their hand through that and have a workshop. For those introverts, have a workshop. For the extroverts, you can totally do a challenge. Show up, be bold, be amazing. Introvert.
I deal with a lot of introverts, and I'm an ambivert, so I'm a hermit. If you ask my family, I'm a hermit. But energetically, I can hold space for large projects. I held women's events for 300 to 500 women, and birthed them all. I can handle that. So I know my energetic center, but I help try to identify that for clients, because a lot of times we try something without knowing the truth of who we are. And when it doesn't work the way we want, it's because we're not aligned with our true energy. So I think that it's so key, ladies, do not compare yourself to others. Go inward to get these answers. And of course, look at the data.
Yeah.
As you've been saying, Jen, because that's so important. Are there any other ways other than workshop, 5-day challenge, webinar? I think we covered
live webinar. If you're selling something small, you can totally be doing a low ticket or self-liquidating offer as your thing, but you're not really launching those.
Yeah.
That's really a thing that you put up the funnel and you send traffic to. Same with an application or a booking funnel. You're building the thing and then you're figuring out how you send traffic to it. And you could totally send traffic via a webinar, via a challenge. You can send traffic to those different places from these sales events, but really I look at a workshop, a challenge. Hosting a summit is a great way to build a list and build your authority, but you're not necessarily selling a big product out of the summit. You're collecting the list, nurturing the people, and presenting them an offer sometime shortly thereafter, probably. You might have an upsell where they get extra bonuses if they're participating live and getting access to the recordings and whatnot. Like that's a nuanced version of a summit. You could be doing a giveaway, which is putting a freebie in front of a bunch of people and having them opt in. I know that we've had a lot in this space too. We've got summits, we've got giveaways, both of those happen. There's bundles where you're putting in a paid product to the host and they're paying the host and getting access to those items. It's another way to grow that list to prep for whatever it is that you're going to sell. But most of the time we're dealing with a challenge, a workshop, a webinar. Those are like the top 3 types of launches that people are doing.
Now, what is some of, I know we talked about there's no one right way to launch, but a question I get all the time, and I'm in a lot of groups other than my client groups, is what's the launch runway? Like people see this summit, right?
Yeah.
We know behind the scenes what it took. But for something like, let's say, a webinar, what's the average runway of prep before they ever get there? So someone that doesn't just go, I think I'll do a webinar next week and wonder why nobody comes, right?
Yeah. So there's different ways to look at these things. Most of them, you're looking at 8+ weeks, and it depends on how much support you
Yeah.
have. If it's just you and your EA, then you probably need to be looking at more like 12 to 16 weeks out, especially if you don't know what you're going to sell yet. Because there's the figuring out what's my offer going to be, and is this webinar needs to tie into that offer. So have you completed most of the things you need in place for that offer, so you can energetically be in a place where, yes, people will buy this thing and I will be great with it. Because there are people in the world, again, pointing to me, I can't pre-sell. I can technically pre-sell. I have a lot of challenge with pre-selling something, especially if I haven't laid out all the bits and pieces. I don't have to deliver it and have it recorded, but I have to know this is my outline. I'm delivering this information in session 1, session 2, session 3, because I'll sell it. I'll show up and try to sell it, and I will sabotage myself from selling it. And if I do get sales, it won't be the right kind of pressure for me. Again, this is all like, figure out how you work. For it's not the right pressure for me to hurry up and do the work to deliver. I will refund money way before I will do the thing. So what do I need? I need to have it laid out very detailed wise so that I can sell it and feel confident and show up, because you'll self-sabotage. That happens all the time too.
Yeah.
If you're not in alignment with the thing. So what do you need to be safe? That becomes the question. Some people are very not risk. I'm very risk averse. If you're not risk averse, if you've taken the Colby test and your third number is above a 7, cool. You don't need a lot of information. Go. I'm a 2. I'm a 7724 on the Colby, which means I need to gather a lot of information. I need to organize it. I need to gather more information and organize it. And I do that dance until I feel safe. And then I want it done yesterday. If you're a high quick start, you want it done yesterday and you don't need all the information.
Yeah, and it depends on who we are. So if someone's doing a webinar and they already know what they're selling and they have it in place, would that shorten the window? But again, it depends if they have a team, because there's a lot of text, there's a lot of writing,
Exactly. You want to promote whatever free event that you're doing. You want to start promoting it 2 weeks to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks before. Facebook ads need time to if you're going to throw Facebook ads in it, they need at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
one of the things I hear all the time is they're so they know what they want to sell, right?
okay.
So they have their offer. They're excited about that. They don't know how to create the launch. We'll use webinar to deliver the content that organically leads to the invitation. Does that make sense? So
the content for the webinar?
Yes. So in other words, they just pick a topic, and we've both seen this. They pick a topic, but they didn't dive deep and go, will this organically lead to when I make the offer on the call? So then everyone's excited about the content they're sharing and they're in their element. But when it gets to the offer, it's two kind of different things. And they're like, and they wonder why no one transitions to the sale, because the journey was broken for them.
Correct.
Have you found that too?
Yes. I find it's best to look at what is your offer and spin out something small from that, something that can be very impactful, but very much is tied into that offer. So if you have a module about one piece, that's what you're spinning out, talking about that one piece for your content.
It's like you're giving them a taste in the webinar of the possibility, and you give them some stuff that they can implement or transform a part of themselves. But the hows, the deep hows are in the program.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell the clients, in myself, I have to remind myself too, is what feels natural for them if you're taking them through a journey on the webinar or in the 5-day challenge is the invitation, the natural next step for them to dive deeper. And
Right.
so that's what I try to stay connected to, because I love this service. I love the transformation. And of course, we all want results as entrepreneurs. So it's like honing in on all those different layers.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't have a VA, because there are some solo entrepreneurs like you and I once were that were just starting out and we're like, I will figure this out. Would it still be webinar? That's the most likely the easiest, I think.
Yeah, webinar is definitely the easiest because you're really creating a splash page, just like you're dealing with a lead magnet. You're creating a page where you're having people opt in. And when they opt in, then they're added to your email system and you're just sending them reminders. Hey, it's going to happen on this time. You want to potentially give them some information about you so that they're aligned with that and just are ready to show up and play with you on that particular day. The tech piece of it is pretty streamlined. And when you're done delivering that webinar, you can decide, is this a thing I'm going to send the replay on? And am I just sending them the replay? Am I putting it on a page where the offer is below it? Or am I just putting a button where they can click over to the offer? Like, it can be really focused and not crazy pants.
Yeah, I like that version because if we just send the link in an email, I love bringing them to a page where the invitation is. It's just another touch point as well as the emails. And I think it feels more homey.
Yeah.
Like, hey, welcome to my home. Here's the replay. It's like I get to have that conversation with them. So I do like that idea. I think it's the easiest way, whether it's an hour or 90 minutes, they can make it work for them. Comfortable with only 30 minutes, do 30 minutes.
Exactly.
And then 15 minutes Q&A, make it work for you and then grow into it. And I know one of the things, because you're all about data, is then look at the numbers. Okay, was my title, did it attract people there? Right, so we look at what that is, how many came, like what are some of the other things you look at so that you can tweak to make the next webinar even better.
So I look at two different numbers from an opt-in page standpoint. I look at how many visits have we had to the page, and some systems natively will tell you that information. Some won't. So if you're not using a system, if you're building it within your WordPress site, make sure you have Google Analytics turned on and pointed to that site so you can look at this page had this many unique views. And then look at how many people actually opted in for that thing. And if your opt-in rate is under 30% on your opt-in page, there is a disconnect. People are getting to the page and they're going, and bouncing and leaving you. So there's a space of opportunity there. Looking at your emails, you want to see what your subject line is. All your subject lines goal is to get the open, is to get them to open the email. Clicks are about, does the content lead them to click on the link? Your click rate's going to be lower. One of the things I find interesting is all the email marketing systems, when they give you that percentage for your clicks, it's the percentage of the number of people who were sent that email, not the number of people who opened that email. So you're always going to see a really low number and you go, no one loves me. No, you can do a little bit of math. It usually tells you how many people, and you can go, oh, this is how many people opened and this is how many people clicked, and that number is likely to be more in alignment. Now I know Apple has screwed things up and not every open is tracked, but I will tell you, if someone opens and clicks on Apple, it will track it as an open. So that's a little hint for you, but look at that information as well. It will tell you if your emails are doing what they're supposed to do. Maybe your emails are too long and people aren't really reading it, so they don't see the click, or the button to click is buried in text and they don't see it, so they just skip over it. That happens too.
And tell
But
everyone,
looking at those pieces is the first part. And then on a webinar itself, I would be looking at how many people showed up to the webinar. I would
what's the average? I'm curious.
want to
What's the
see.
average?
Oops, sorry.
What's the average? Like, if 100 people registered for your webinar, what's the industry average? I know everyone has exceptions of how many will actually show live compared to the replay.
Live right now, you're looking at 5 to 7.
5 to 7%.
5 to 7% are showing up live. You'll have higher if you have some kind of incentive for them to be there live. You'll get access to a different thing that you cut out, but 5 to 7. Most people nowadays are really catching things on replays, which is part of why an on-demand feels attractive. But if your on-demand doesn't convert, it's not worth doing. It's better to have a small audience live and know, oh, I had 10 people on live and I made a sale on that call, or I made 3 sales on that call. Oh, hey, 10 people, 3, that's amazing conversion. I know that this works. Let's see how it goes with the replay. And then you're looking at your numbers for your replay page. How many people visited the replay page? Can you track how many people viewed your video? Some systems will let you have that data, some won't. If you're going low key, and I put it as unlisted on YouTube, you're not going to see how many people watched the whole thing, but you're going to see how many people watched it.
Yeah.
So you can see some of those numbers.
And those are important because the next time we do it, it's like, okay, I got everyone there, but maybe I got to fix the copy so I can get more conversions. Or if no one was watching the replay, you go, okay, I'm going to rewrite my replay emails to make it more enticing to get them to watch the replay. Like I tell everyone, don't do it once. I mean, it's a test for everything in business. Listen, this is our 13th summit, 9th under this brand. I saw the first summit, so I was one of the first ones to do one back in 2010 when a producer found me and he produced the first one. I have been tweaking nonstop the systems, the processes, the messaging. It wasn't like, ooh, it's tweaking and learning.
Exactly.
And that's what I tell people. A lot of people give up. Don't give up. Listen to the data. Follow Jen and her free gift down below, which we'll talk about, but just pay attention to your energy, follow the data, listen to your audience. I always say that. Pick a topic that you know they're looking for. But we covered so much yummy stuff. But I know you have a free gift for them, and I know it's powerful because it's called Launch Planning Made Simple. And listen, everyone, if right now you're saying, oh my God, I'm freaked out about doing a launch. No, get this free gift. And Jen, tell them what they can expect from it so we kind of take away any of that little angst they're feeling now from our conversation about numbers and data and conversions. Listen, ladies, it can be easier. We just got to get you in the right mindset and give you the tools. So Jen, what can they expect?
It totally can be easier. So what you'll get in the Launch Planning Made Simple process, it's 3 video workshops that I did. The first one is talking about a launch, and really we were talking about the webinar launch. So we were covering many of the different steps, the whole process, like, oh, I have to write sales page copy, I have to write email copy, here's some of the tech stuff I need to do. We kind of broke out all of those steps, and it's just a framework that you can use for setting yourself up for success there. That was the first video. The second one is talking about a low tech launch. It is kind of referred to as a lazy launch sometimes. It's selling with a Google Doc. It's perfect for a beta launch if you're doing selling in the DMs. Like what does that kind of launch look like? We lay that out. And then the third one is on lead magnets. How do you get more people onto your list, and the type of funnel project planning that comes into that whole thing. So we break down those tasks for you. and make it really simple. So you don't have to think about, wait, what else do I need to do? What are all these steps? Oh gosh, it's going to take me how long? I talk about all of that in each of these videos.
Oh my God. For one, I think that's priceless because I know from doing launches as you do, there are so many things, the promo, the setup. If you've never done it before, of course you're going to be overwhelmed, but grab this free gift and have Jen walk you through. So now it's almost like a little check thing. Like, I've got this. It takes away the overwhelm. And that's one of your gifts too, with all the high-level entrepreneurs that you have supported over the years is, let's take the overwhelm out of this. Let's do the systems processes to get results, keep tweaking them and increasing the results. And that's your magical mojo, isn't it?
Thank you. Yes, it is. It is part of my magicness. I like to wave my magic wand and make things less stressful and breaking all of those steps down. Specifically for me, I'm a micro task person. I just want to, when I'm in work mode, I just want to cross stuff off my list. That puts me into momentum and gets me into a better place. And I know I'm serving because I'm crossing stuff off my list. So I like to break all those things down into really detailed lists. So if you need that, there's some more information on that within the freebie as well. But we break down all the things so that it's easy to do and you don't have to think, oh, wait, did I forget to do this? Wait, did I do that thing? I don't know. You have a list. You can cross it off.
And the beautiful part is it makes you feel more empowered and confident so that you can show up and shine when it's time for the webinar.
100%.
Right. It just it takes a lot of pressure off. I'm a systems and processes gal, and it's one of the reasons why you all see me doing so much, because everything is systematized and we continually learn and tweak things. So listen, we've all been there. We all started with small lists. So wherever you are on this journey, whether it's a small list or an established list, give birth to that product or program that's in your heart. Do a launch, find the launch style that works for you. And of course, download Jen's free gift right below this video and get that support in that container to step into. Jen, this was so much fun. I mean, this is a big topic, isn't it? It's a big topic, but at least today we gave a lot of elements, or you gave actually a lot of elements to give the entrepreneurs a deeper understanding, but also that there's so many options. And then you give them this planning kit to help make it simple. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so happy to have been here and been of service.
Now, we need everyone to launch because lives can't be transformed if we are not out there sharing our magic. So ladies, let's take away the fears and insecurities around doing a launch. Grab Jen's gift and get your product and program out there to change lives. Blessings, everyone.